What's good, y'all? Anderson Emerald here, and today we are talking about Jamaican men in the 100, the 200, the short sprints, and kind of their resurgence to a degree. So I wanted to dive in and take a look back at, of course, what occurred at the Tokyo 2025 World Champs with the 100, 200, Oblique, Kashane, Brian Lavelle, how this was pretty historical for Jamaica in terms of the progress, or I guess lack of progress to a degree, from over the past decade since Usain Bolt retired or so. And then also look in the future and kind of the guys that of course got medals here, but some of the guys below them, and if they're going to, have some backup when it comes to the future of Jamaican sprinting, and if they'll maintain their spots on the podium as we look forward into coming years. So as always, if you like videos like these are kind of like quicker videos. I have more in-depth videos coming as well on my other channel, but definitely be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below. It always does help me out. I really do appreciate it. But let's dive in. So first off, what actually happened at the Tokyo World Championships? In the 100 meters, we saw Oblique Seville win the gold medal running 9.77 personal best. Kashane Thompson got the silver medal running 9.82. And then, of course, Noah Laws got that bronze medal. But focusing on Jamaica, in the 200, Noah, Kenny B, and then Brian Lavelle, 19.64 personal best to get the bronze medal for Jamaica. Now, first on the 100, this was very special for Oblique because this was the first time since 2015 that Jamaica had got the gold medal. Literally, they had, forget even getting a medal, forget even getting the gold. They had not been on the podium since 2017 when Usain Bolt got the bronze. But the last time they got the gold was 2015. And this was a stretch of 4 consecutive gold medals from 2009, 11, 13, 15, and then, those 4. Obviously, Johan Blake got the gold in 2011, and then the others were Usain Bolt. But there was a long gap of 4 different Americans, Justin, Christian, Fred, Noah, and then Oblique finally got on top of the podium, which was very dramatic, right? A lot of Jamaicans had been rooting for Oblique to get on the podium for the first time, to get a gold medal, to live up to his potential, to overcome the injuries, the setbacks, all that. He finally did it. But even more importantly here is that this is the first time ever at the World Championships, at least, that Jamaica went 1-2 in the 100. This has never been done before. Even throughout all of the Usain Bolt era, there was never a 1-2 at the World Championships. Usain Bolt, 2009, went 1-3 with Bolt and Asafa Powell, as well as in 2013, 1-3 with Bolt and Nesta Carter. But remember, 2011, you had Johan Blake get the gold medal. Usain Bolt false started. Asafa Powell got injured right before, so he pulled out of the World Champs. Nesta Carter, he was in that final, but he got a cramp and couldn't finish the race properly. Michael Frater, he didn't make it into the final. And earlier that year in 2011, Steve Mullings got banned for cheating. So you only ended up with Johan Blake getting on the podium. And then before that, we'd never seen Jamaica get a gold. So the first time ever at the World Championships that they went 1-2 in the 100 meters. Before then, at the Olympic Games, you did have in 2012 Usain Bolt and Johan Blake actually go 1-2 in this case, right? But huge performance by Oblique Seville and Kashane Thompson to go 1-2 for Jamaica. Very big performance there. Now, looking at the 200 and what they did, you had Brian Lavelle getting the bronze medal running 19.64 seconds. A massive personal best, moved him up to one of the fastest all time in the event. And this was the first time since 2015 that Jamaica had actually ended up on the podium in the 200. Literally, this was the first time they had gotten onto the podium. Bolt in 2015 was the last time Jamaica was on the podium in the 200 specifically. Even after that, you had seen 2 Jamaican men actually make a global final in the 200 since Bolt in 2015. 2023, we saw that Andrew Hudson made the final, finishing 8th place. And obviously, this is all due respect to Andrew Hudson, but he did kind of get advanced into the final because there was the whole golf cart incident that did occur. So whether or not he would have been I don't know if he was running 20 flat to be able to make that final. But regardless, he got advanced to the final and he finished 8th place there. So, big performance overall. The other thing that did occur, and I'm just going to use Taboho in this example, is at the 2021 Olympic Games, you saw that, I think it's Rashid Doyer, he made the final in the 200, finishing in 7th place there. So those were the only 2 times that we saw athletes actually make the 200 meter final for Jamaica since Usain Bolt in 2015. Now, not only did Brian Lavelle make that final, but he also got a personal best and got a bronze medal, the first medal for Jamaica at the World Champs since 2015 in the 200. Now, the last thing in terms of just the medals that they did here, This meant Oblique, Kashane, Brian, 3 medals for Jamaica in the 100 and 200 by 3 different individuals. This was the first time that's occurred since 2013, I think. 2013 and 2012 was the only time that happened, where 3 different athletes won medals in the 100 and the 200. So let's just quickly take a look at the World Championships, where for the most part, throughout, Jamaican history at least, it was always Usain Bolt winning a medal in the 100 and the 200, and then another athlete from Jamaica winning another medal along with him, or it was only Bolt, right? So, for example, in 2015, you had Usain Bolt. He won the gold medal in the 100, and then in the 200, also in 2015, Usain Bolt also won the gold medal. So only Usain Bolt won medals. But 2013, in the 200, we saw Usain Bolt win the gold medal. Warren Weir got the silver medal, so that's 2 athletes. And then in the 100 in 2013, Bolt again, so still, 2 athletes. But then Nesta Carter, he got that bronze medal in the 100, so that's 3 athletes winning 3 medals at the World Championships for Jamaica. The only other time that this actually did occur was in 2012, where at the Olympic Games, you had Usain Bolt winning a gold medal in the 100, Johan Blake winning a gold medal in the 100, silver medal in the 100 as well. And then in the 200, Warren Weir joined them on the podium, winning the bronze medal in that 200. So again, that's 3 different athletes, with Bolt, Johan winning gold and silver in the 100 and 200, and then Warren Weir getting another medal. So I'm saying all this to say that there's a level of depth that Jamaica is bringing back that we haven't seen since the Usain Bolt era. And even during that era, only a few times Bolt and then everyone else, at different pockets, really getting on the podium. This is a very special time for Jamaica when talking about these short sprints. Now, is this something that's going to continue in the future? Well, probably. I definitely know we're going to see, Jamaica, United States, Jamaica, United States. This is going to be a very, very competitive rivalry that's not going to stop anytime soon. If anything, Jamaica getting back on the podium reinvigorated this rivalry to prove that it's still alive and healthy, right? Again, look back at what we saw in the 100 meters, where Jamaica had not won a gold medal since 2015. It was all United States, United States, United States, United States, and then Jamaica got back. So I like the fact that the rivalry is back, I know some people going to come at that. The rivalry is still maintaining, but they also kind of split the difference in the 100 and the 200, where Jamaica went gold and silver, and then USA went bronze in the 100. And then in the 200, USA went gold and silver, and then Jamaica went bronze. I like this, man. This is good. This is good for the sport. This is good for, sprinting, for track and field. It is what it is. Now, will this continue for Jamaica specifically? Look at the ages of Oblique Seville, Kashane Thompson, Brian Lavelle. Oblique Seville, he is only 24 years old. By the time we get to 2027, he's going to be 26, right? The 28 Olympics, he's going to be 27. So he still has years to continue to grow, to develop, to get faster, all of that. He's going to be here. Kashane Thompson, right now, he is only 24 years old. So literally the same age as Oblique Seville. He's still going to be, rising, developing, et cetera, et cetera. Brian Lavelle, he's much younger. He's only 21 years old. Well, he's turning 22 at the end of this year. So by the time we get to the Beijing World Championships, he's going to be, 23 years old, turning 24 at the end of the year. And then, 24 by the Olympics, 25 at the end of the year. So he's still very young, 2 years younger than, a year and a half younger than Oblique and Kashane. So the point is, with these 3 guys, they're still young, they're still rising, and they're still going to make sure that Jamaica is, likely going to be on the podium for the next couple years, and that USA-Jamaica rivalry, add in, Botswana, add in, all these other nations, the African nations, right? I got a video on that coming out. They're going to be in some great competition for the years to come, which I really do like. But, this is the big question that I do have. Will Jamaica's hopes lay just on these 3 guys? Essentially, is there enough depth behind Oblique, Kashane, and Brian Lavelle to make sure that Jamaica does have some guys in the waiting, where in the case of a 2011, where Johan Blake ends up winning gold after Usain Bolt false starts, after Nesta Carter, gets a cramp, after Michael Frater doesn't make the final, after Asafa Powell, pulls out of the World Champs due to injury, after Steve Mullings, gets banned, right? After all of that, you still had enough depth for Johan Blake to win the gold medal. Does Jamaica have enough depth for something like that to happen? I'm gonna be clear, they don't, right? They don't have enough like that where something like that can happen. But let's take a look at some of the guys who they do have behind them who could potentially step up if oblique Kashane, Brian aren't really on their P's and Q's, and maybe they deal with injuries, maybe they deal with setbacks, whatever it may be. First in the 100 meters. So obviously you have Kashane Thompson, and this is from 2025. You have Kashane Thompson, Oblique Seville, Brian Lavelle. Those are the big three right now. Behind them, you have Akeem Blake. The problem with Akeem Blake is he has not been consistent enough, and he hasn't shown the ability to make a global championship final. Like, it's just a fact of the matter. And Akeem, I love Akeem Blake. Like, that's my man's, right? But he unfortunately hasn't shown that consistency and that ability to get over the hump of getting into a final, where we saw him in 2022. His first global championships, didn't make the final. He missed the team in 2023, 2024 Olympic Games, didn't make the final. 2025 World Championships, ran his personal best this year, 9.88 at the Jamaican trials, but didn't make the World Championship final. So even though he's run 9.88, which is also decent, but it's not good enough for this current generation of guys running 9.7s, 9.8 lows, right? He's going to have to step up in terms of times, and he's going to have to step up in terms of, competition where, all right, now he's a guy who's going to be able to make a final. Before it's like, okay, if Oblique Seville, gets injured for whatever reason, if Brian Lavelle or Kashane Thompson or something happens to one of those guys, can Akeem Blake step into their position? Not yet, but who knows? You also have Raheem Ford. Raheem Ford is also, he's not as fast as Akeem Blake. I think his best is 9.91 or 9.92 in terms of personal best. I can cross-check real quick. But he did make 9.95 seconds is his personal best. So he did make the World Championship final back in 2023, though. So if you remember, and I'm going to circle back, 2023 Budapest World Championships, Raheem Ford made it into the final, eventually finishing last place, but he was able to make it into that final. And that's ahead of someone like, I think Ron Watson was the other guy for Jamaica who competed here. Remember, Akeem Blake didn't actually make the team. Oblique Seville obviously got 4th place here, but he's someone who you could look at and say, okay, maybe he could be in the conversation. He's the same age as Kashane Thompson and Oblique Seville, so relatively young, has some years to go. You have Ron Watson. So he also made the World Championship team in 2023, didn't make the final, but he's a year younger than, Thompson, Seville, and Raheem Ford. And then you have a whole bunch of other guys, right? Kadrian Goldson, you have Nkrumah, you have all these other guys. But I think what's interesting is just to look at the fact that Jamaica has a very strong top 3, but the depth does start to drop off behind there. And I say this because when looking at a USA-Jamaica rivalry, is anyone ready to step up if some of these guys actually, even from the United States, don't perform to their best? So for example, if Noah Lyles doesn't medal at the World Championships this year in the 100, right? Kenny B stepped right into that because he got 4th place. But even then, when you look at the landscape of American guys, you have guys like a Trayvon Bromell, like a Christian Coleman, like a Courtney Lindsay, like a T-Mars McCallum, like a Christian Miller, right? All of these guys have, outside of Christian Miller, have run 9.8s this year. Not only like in previous years, but this year. And then you add in, like I said, Christian Miller. And then you could add in other guys like a Jordan Anthony, younger guys who we know for 100% fact are on the rise. Not saying they're definitely going to get medals, but it's just the idea that the United States is always going to be a powerhouse, and they're always going to have like almost a conveyor belt of top sprinters ready to step into the mold, which is why we've seen the United States literally win 4 consecutive gold medals prior to 2025 by 4 different people, right? That's not a coincidence. They just have enough depth to make up for any loss of top guys. But Jamaica right now, unfortunately, doesn't have that. And let's be clear. I'm saying that Kashane, Oblique, Brian, they are going to have very strong futures, but the depth behind them is not as strong. So this isn't to disparage them in any way. Similar situation in the 200, and maybe even more so, where Brian Lavelle, 1964, very strong, but then there's a big drop off. You get to Adrian Kerr. He set his personal best of 20.08 at the Tokyo World Championships in the semifinal, but 20 is not doing anything, right? Like we literally just saw Zarnell Hughes finish 5th place running 19.7 at the World Championships. Like if we look at the depth of this 200 meters at the World Championships in Tokyo, we just saw Zarnell Hughes run 19.78 seconds and finish in 5th place, right? Let's see that the Boho ran 19.65 and didn't get a medal. That's the depth that we're starting and ending with when talking about the 200 meters and the landscape right now. Brian Lavelle ran 19.64 and only got the bronze medal, right? This is a very competitive event. And when you're talking about 20.08, obviously Adrian Kerr is making progress. He's also the same age as Brian Lavelle, but there's going to have to be a big step up. Oblique Seville, he's the next fastest guy. I know he just had a surgery on his toe, so maybe in the future we do see him, step things up, run into the 200. But I'm not, holding any expectations there on him running the 200 at the World Champs, in 2027. I'm not going to say that. Akeem Blake, like I said, he got to make finals in the 100. Christopher Taylor, who knows if he continues in the 200? He did this set of personal bests at the national championships this year, but maybe he goes back up to the 400. The point is, there's a lack of depth behind Brian Lavelle when talking about the 200 and the future for Jamaica. And we got to be honest, I don't think we're going to see a situation like 2012 for Jamaica where you had Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, or this is the 100, sorry. In the 200 where you saw Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, as well as Warren Weir sweeping the podium at the Olympic Games, right? That's a very, very special scenario that I don't think we're going to see for Jamaica. I don't even know if we're going to see that for anyone, where even the United States, considering their depth, I don't think they stop in Brian, Letsile, Zarnell. There's a couple guys that they got to get, really got to get through. But it does speak to the depth that Jamaica is a little bit lacking when it comes to the 200 outside of Brian Lavelle. So, I don't know. That's something to definitely keep a lookout for. But I was very, very impressed with what the Jamaican men did at the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo. Oblique Seville getting the gold in the 100, Kashane Thompson getting the silver in the 100, and then Brian Lavelle getting the bronze medal. Really kind of, returning Jamaica to this, theorized world of what we saw in the mid-2010s with Usain Bolt and then the rest of Jamaican dominance, throughout. Like I said, they don't have the depth like they did. Check out the video that I did of the 2011 season where Johan Blake won the gold medal and how so many different things went wrong for Jamaica, but their depth led them to still get a gold medal. That's a different world. We're not living in that now, but I do like the consistency that these guys are showing. I do like the future that they're, headed towards when it comes to potentially still getting medals. I do like the head-to-head. The USA versus Jamaica is still very much alive and ready, and now back on the podium means that they're ready to contend. It's going to be exciting for the sport overall. So let me know what you think about what we saw from Jamaica, specifically the men in the 100 and the 200 at the World Championships. Do you think this is going to continue? I bet most of y'all going to say yes, dominate. I know. But be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Truly do appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.